Welcome to the Hypnosis NGH podcast. This podcast series offers a fun and serious look at hypnosis and offers various ideas, discuss case studies, along with NGH educational opportunities.
Hello, and welcome to the NGH Hypnosis podcast. I'm Jereme, Bachand, the Executive Director of the National Guild. Here is some insight to some of the presentations that will be happening at the Solid Gold weekend this year in Las Vegas. And today we'd like to welcome the owner of FARE Hypnosis, board-certified hypnotist, NGH certified instructor, Roberta Fernandez. Hi, Roberta. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Jereme. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. I see you have a co-host today.
I have a co-host. I have a couple, actually. She's a puppy, and she will bark whenever she hears voices on Zoom. So as long as she's in my lap, she's quiet. This is why I don't work at home. I work at the office.
It sounds great. So you'll be with us this year presenting at the Solid Gold weekend. It is your first time presenting at the Solid Gold weekend, and if you'd like to just let us know a little bit more about Roberta Fernandez, your background and maybe how you got into the profession, and we really look forward to having you at Solid Gold and sharing your knowledge. So.
Well, thank you. I'm excited. In all the years I've been coming to the NGH stuff, I've never been to Solid Gold because it was always across the country. And now I live here. So it's like perfect. I can go every year now. It's in my backyard. So okay, about me. I've been a serial entrepreneur since I was 24. I've had 7 different businesses now. Before I became a hypnotist, I was a corporate consultant and trainer in the field of sustainability, specifically cultural change and emotional intelligence. And so when I left that field to become a hypnotist, my friends were like, wow, this is a big change. And I'm like, no, it's just a different tool. I'm helping individuals change, just like I was helping companies change. So to me, it wasn't a huge leap. Obviously, a lot of different techniques and working with people one-on-one in some ways. But in other ways, it wasn't. And I've always used my corporate training skills in my practice. And, to me, the two things just mesh. People are people. And what I knew from my consulting days is that you can't change a corporate culture until the people in it change. And so, that's how I've made this transition. And I'm actually transitioning a little bit back into that world because I want to reach more people. So I'm taking a lot of my guided visualization skills, because that's a safer term in the corporate world, back into that community and doing a lot of training, but around the same topics that I see affect my clients.
Oh, that's awesome. So it's kind of full circle for you.
It is.
It's kind of just adding all these tools to really round out what you do. And are you originally from Minnesota or?
No, I'm actually a Floridian. I was born and raised there. Yeah, lived there for most of my life, and then as a corporate consultant, the recession happened in 2008, and there was no business for me in Florida as a consultant. And I had a client in Minnesota. And so I thought, well, if I have one client there, I can get more. The recession wasn't as bad there. And I fell in love with Minneapolis, and I lived there for 12 years. So unfortunately, I haven't lived near my daughter for that length of time. And I told her when she got settled, I would move to where she was. So that's what's brought me to Vegas. Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah. And I actually really like it here, I have to say. Most of Vegas is not like the Strip. That's a different world, right? This is just another city that you would find anywhere. But it's very beautiful.
A lot of people get a misconception about Las Vegas. Although, I do have to say I was pretty amazed that supermarkets are open 24 hours a day and
And
things like that.
they all have slot machines
Yeah.
yeah, it's a big change. There are certain things that I still walk in and go, oh my God, this is so weird. But if you love the outdoors, the mountains, the hiking, if everybody is coming to Solid Gold, if you can spend a couple extra days and want some tips on where to hit up a good trail, happy to help you with that. It really is gorgeous, and the time of the year here, the weather's fantastic.
It really is.
Yeah.
We always try to do early in the year. It kind of spreads it out from the NGH convention that we have in August for the Solid Gold weekend in Las Vegas. We've done a few different locations. We've done it in Florida. We've also done it in California and Anaheim. But Las Vegas, it's the majority of the NGH Solid Gold weekends, and the original Solid Gold weekend happened in Las Vegas. It's just it's a neat place. It's quite a mix of different people from different places, and kind of a mixing bowl. I
Yeah,
have good
it
friends
is.
that live out there, and I've met friends that live out there and colleagues. So it's almost like a second home to me and Dr. Damon. Um, it's such a neat place where you could crave a certain type of food and you can find
Oh,
it.
everything.
you know
Everything is here.
where
And it's really interesting because, obviously there's amazing restaurants on the strip, but I can go up Eastern, which is a very busy road, with just about any kind of food you want to find, and it's all wonderful.
it's off
So
the strip diamonds that you find.
yeah, the littlest places. I found a Cuban restaurant here that is. My mother-in-law was part Cuban and her husband, and she was a fantastic cook. And man, I got roast pork and black beans. It was just like she used to make it. It was like, oh, I felt my tribe here, right? So yeah, there's just all kinds of little gems.
Well,
Which
there's a lot of great experiences, and it definitely. I'm sure our attendees will be hitting Roberta up for her hot spots around town,
Yeah, there you go.
and
There you go. Well,
hiking.
I'm still a newbie. Like I've only been here 6 months.
Okay.
So, but I'm checking things out.
Well, we do have a chapter in Las Vegas, and Tim Timmons is
Oh,
one of
awesome.
the guys out there that he'll be at Solid Gold weekend. I'll make sure I introduce you to
Oh,
Tim.
that'd be awesome.
And
Yeah.
they do a lot of NGH activities, and they're an active group out there.
Yeah,
Well,
it
let's
is.
get back to Solid Gold weekend. I love just talking shop and chatting about things. Um, you're going to be talking your presentation at the Solid Gold. It's going to be one of our building practice building sessions,
Hmm.
and the way that we've really designed the Solid Gold weekend is for a techniques and building practice weekend where you're going to take away uh, the tools that you need right away from after this weekend of learning with our presenters. You're going to be teaching you're building a better practice through intentional public speaking. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, Roberta?
Yeah, when you guys reached out to me, because I do a lot of public speaking. I think in the last 15 years, I've done more than 85 major either keynote events or training events, speaking events around the country, and I love it. I like being up on a stage. It's kind of my inner me coming out, right? And so I was thinking about how I was going to do this. And I'm a really big believer when I teach about being experiential. And so I thought, what better way to teach than to model how to do what I'm talking about? And so I was laughing because I've been preparing my talk. And originally, a few months ago, when you contacted me, I had, oh, I'll do this, this, and this. And that's how you've advertised it. And then I realized in my talk, and a lot of that's not in there. So I always believe in giving what I promise. So we'll have a little bit before that fills in those blanks that are not going to be in my talk. But the talk will challenge the participants to really pay attention to how it's structured and how I'm delivering the message. And I think that's really, really important. A lot of people, the old expression, do as I say, not as I do. I think that it's really important to model what we teach. And so that's how I'm structuring my whole talk. And I'm really excited about it because it's a challenge for me too, to be able to incorporate the teaching in what I want to show as a talk. Um, and what I'm doing with the talk is I'm incorporating things in there that will help people realize that are not doing speaking engagements, why they're not doing it, and how to overcome it. So, and it is about selling, because what I find is, and I was guilty of this too before I was a hypnotist, but early in my career, I had always done things that were education. So it was, give all the information you can to help people. And that's important. That you have to give value whenever you talk. And you have to give your good stuff too. It really irritates me when I go to a talk and I sit there for an hour and I have absolutely nothing to take with me. Or that they've pitched me the whole freaking time, which drives me crazy too. A pitch is not a bad thing, but it needs to be appropriate for the setting, right? And so that's what I'm going to do in this setting to show you how to do that. And the mistake people make, though, is they give so much. Like, I would challenge the listeners today to say, how many times have you given a talk and people are raving about your talk? Oh my God, that was so amazing, so much good information, and you don't get anything from it. Nobody buys. And you did a great job, but nobody buys. And let's face it, we are out there to build our business, to make connections, to get more speaking engagements, to get clients, right? Because we're all in it to make money too. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you think there is, then you should definitely seek me out during the conference. So we have to ask. You have to find a way to ask for people to come to you either during the presentation or after, that they want more of you in some way. And it's really interesting. Sometimes I've given, long trainings, and then, I have a training that's relatively close to what I just did. People will pay for it anyway, even though they've basically heard what I'm going to tell them in the training. Because, well, first of all, we all know we learn by repetition, right? And secondly, they just want more of you. And so that likability factor is super important, that you connect just like you would with your clients. You have to build rapport. And if they like you, they're going to buy.
That's true. And
Yeah.
and when you go to these corporations and you're talking in front of groups, there's different things that you could approach to sell. You could be approached to sell a program as a whole to
Oh,
a
yeah.
corporation, or you're picking up individual clients
Yeah.
who are sitting in on your talk, who might be an employee of this course, but the information they're drawn to you because you're giving great information, but they have a different thing that they want to change in their lives,
Yep.
and they're like, wow, you know, I could talk to Roberta to see if she can help me with this. So you're hitting a couple different things by going out and speaking to groups and putting yourself out there,
Yep.
picking up and even even if you're donating your time to a Rotary Club or a Lions Club, or big or small, you're still that's an investment of your time, but you also have the potential to get many clients out of it as well.
Absolutely. When I first became a hypnotist, so it was very soon after I moved to Minnesota, I didn't know anybody. I moved there not knowing a single person. And, I had a career. I was introduced to hypnosis. It was fascinating to me. And I thought, why aren't more people doing this? Like, this is amazing stuff. And I came to it through pain, is how I was introduced to hypnosis. And, I was worried, can you not make a living doing it? Why aren't there more people doing this? So, I found, because I had no budget, I started talking and I would speak to anybody. I think I made every single Rotary Club that I could find. And it's 15 minutes is usually all you have, right? Here's the thing though, you have to be intentional. Like you can it's one thing. And for me in Minnesota at the time, so this was 2013, and there was a lot of like, oh, you're a hypnotist, don't look at me, right? And like there was a lot of pushback. Midwesterners are very late adopters, let me tell you. And so I wanted to educate and say, look, I'm just a person, I'm not scary, right? And that was an important part of my role in Minnesota as a hypnotist, that education. This is what it is, this is what it isn't. However, I was also trying to build my practice. So I needed to be intentional with the kind of message that I was giving so that I would get a client or two, right? But otherwise, I'm spending a 15 minutes or an hour, and yes, I am helping elevate the profession, but I also have to have an income. So, whenever you give a talk, you need to know what's in it for me too, not just the audience, right? So, in my talk, my educational talk, how do I show them something that is going to help them in the moment, but also show them that if they worked with me, we can take that to the next level?
Right.
Right. So, what do you want to get out of the talk? For me, I'm going back into the corporate sector. I have a year-long program that I do called a HARA, and I'm looking to do that in the corporate sector, but also as individuals, you can participate in that program, right? So, I am gauging my audience. Who am I going to be talking to? And that's another thing. When you go out and you give a presentation, you have to know who the audience is. So there's a really large gaming program company out here, and that I was just introduced to and referred to give a talk to. And I did this in Minnesota too with Blue Cross. In large companies, sometimes they will have support groups. Okay. So before I left Minneapolis, I did one for the addiction and recovery support group, and they wanted something around stress. And so, I did something around stress. Here, the lady that does all the health and wellness, we had a really nice Zoom call, and she had two other women on the call, and they were from their perennial group, 50 plus. And it's perfect because when I look at this kind of scenario to go give a talk to, it's like, okay, tell me about the needs of your group. What they said stress was a huge thing. Tell me about the kind of stresses they have, because I have a canned talk on stress, but I want to personalize it, and I want to make sure it fits, the message is really directed at that group. And so, we had a long conversation on that. The benefit to me is I have a couple of things I can sell to large corporations: Ahara, conscious napping, a couple of products, so to speak. And this is my opportunity in a very large corporation to get a pilot group. So I'm going to give away my conscious napping app, because now I have a little test market going on. And when I try to pitch it and work my way up into the company, I can say, when they say, oh, well, there's lots of the stuff. Well, do you know that you already have a pilot started here? And here are the results. And these are how many people signed up, right?
Oh,
And
that's
so
neat.
we have to be intentional from a business perspective about not only what is this talk going to do for me, to this group, and what value can I bring to them, but what's my next steps? Like, what's the short term and what's the long term? And sometimes there isn't a long term, but you never know. You
Right.
never know who's in that audience that knows somebody, that some of my best partnerships in the medical community, because that's where I was really embedded in Minneapolis, came from people that heard about me, from somebody who had heard me speak, and they would seek out an opportunity to get into one of my talks. And so this is one of the other advantages of being known for public speaking, is that you become that subject matter expert. I mean, Elsom used to do a talk about that at the NGH conference every year, and I love that talk because I don't care how experienced you are as a hypnotist or inexperienced as you are, you can become a subject matter expert. You know, I always tell people that I certify for hypnosis. You already know 1,000 times more than what the average person knows about hypnosis, you know? And one of the things we're going to talk about at my talk is imposter syndrome, right? Because that keeps us small. It holds us back. And so you have to just dive in there and go with something you're comfortable and start building off of that.
Right. So it's safe to say that throughout your years of working in the profession that there's been a lot of trial and errors that you've run into
Oh yeah.
going through.
I've had some very interesting experiences, let me tell you. Oh my God. I should write a book.
So this is something that, you know, I find very attractive with our attendees, is because, you know, you have a person who's been there, done that, made the mistakes, made the changes, knows what structure to do, has, as you put it, canned things ready to go, but
Yeah.
also can do, you know, so this is going to be great for our attendees to go to and learn about public speaking and the importance of it.
Yeah.
Getting out there, you know, talking the talk, walking the walk, and as Dr. Damon puts it, you know, develop your elevator talk. Talk to anybody and everybody. You have a short period of time, go.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I think one of the highest compliments I got, I recently did an hour, it was a live webinar, and here's another tip, record everything you do. And, you know, I turn around and I sell it for $27 on my website, right? And it's just a lead magnet. It's just something to get people in, or I give it away. But it is also demonstrating my capabilities, and illustrating part of my body of work. And I had a woman that somebody had seen it. And, you know, I always give a recorded version of the live stuff. And this woman passed it on. And some people might say, well, gosh, you know, I charged for that. Why didn't I get that money? Oh, who cares? It's $27, right? You want people to pass it on. You want them just to give it away to their friends and everybody. And this woman called me out of the blue. I didn't know who she was. And she's like, you know, I just got to tell you something. I've recently retired, but I spent my whole career in sales. Every company I've worked in, I was the top salesman. I was really, really good at what I did. And I'm halfway through your talk. And I want to tell you, I've never seen anything like this before. This is amazing. And that's a big compliment, because I wasn't selling,
Right.
but I was selling,
Right.
right? We are always selling. I don't care if you're a minister, you're a hypnotist, a doctor, whatever. We are always selling, if nothing more, who we are, right? And we're always putting out that impression. And so being aware of how am I presenting myself is super important at all times. You know, when I first became a hypnotist, I was in this little office and I had no signage. And so, oh gosh, I wrapped my car, FARE Hypnosis. It had little bullet points down the side. And I used to laugh because sometimes I'd come out in a parking lot and I would see people reading my car. You know, it was really funny. And actually, though, but what I would do is I would park it in the first slot at the street so people would see the FARE Hypnosis logo, and my clients would know they were in the right place, right? And it was amazing. It actually, I got clients from that. But what it also did is it I'll never forget, I was doing work at my house one day, yard work, and hauling bricks and dirt, and I was a wreck. And I needed 15 more blocks to finish this lawn project. So I go to Home Depot. I am sweaty, I'm filthy. I get out of my car and I'm like, oh my God. Here's FARE Hypnosis everywhere in my car, and I am like sneaking between the cars so people don't see I got out of my car, right? But what it did was it made me realize, nobody likes a grumpy hypnotist. So you got to get out of your car with a smile on your face, right? You got to not flick somebody off on the road that cut you off because you're advertising your car, right? I mean, my business is right there. I actually did unwrap it after a while because I wanted to go out to a club every once in a while and didn't want people to see my car there. I wanted some anonymity after a while, but sure. I do have a vanity plate on my car here that says Hypno One. So yeah, I might regret that down the road. I don't know.
So, Roberta, you live in Nevada. What does Roberta Fernandez do other than hypnosis?
Oh, okay. Well, behind me, you see 2 books on the shelf, Knock on the Door and The Two Shall Meet. They're novels that I wrote. I actually wrote the first one using hypnosis during COVID, and the second one came right after. It's amazing what you can do when you're in that trance state. And the inspiration that you can get. So I'm still modeling what I do, but I love to write. And those books were picked up by publisher, which is kind of cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What type of books are there? What type of
They're thrillers. They're thrillers. Yeah, I don't know where this stuff comes from. It's amazing. It's amazing what your subconscious mind can produce. Why? Sure. It's kind of scary because the second one is like, wow, I've had people read it and go, dang, where do you get this stuff from? Research, a lot of research.
Right. Well, that's very
it's
cool.
about the triad and the mafia. So I'll give you a little bit of a hint.
Okay.
There's a little bit of darkness in parts of that. But yeah. And for me right now, my main activities are exploring. My daughter and her husband they like to boulder and hike and mountain climb. So they have me out at least once a week, killing me on these hikes. It's like, oh, Mom, it's only 10 miles and, only 1,000-foot elevation. I'm like, oh, really? Thank you, honey.
Well, it's so great to hear that you're enjoying life.
Hopefully these people that come to Solid Gold, they enjoy, they have a laugh. They feel that rapport. I'm super excited to meet everybody. And I'm sure it'll be a different group of people too. Some familiar faces, but I'm very excited about meeting people. So, yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today, Roberta.
Thank you.
We're really looking forward to the Solid Gold weekend, end of February 24th and 25th. We'll be doing it at the Tuscany Suites Hotel and Casino. It's off the strip, but it's an easy Uber ride or a walk right a couple blocks up to the strip. So you don't get all the hustle and bustle of the strip. It's off the strip. It's a nice location. We've got many relationships with the hotel staff and just a good group of people. They always treat the NGH and our attendees very well there. So we look forward to seeing everybody. Look forward to seeing you, Roberta. And
Thanks, Jereme.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have a wonderful day, and we'll all meet again. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Hypnosis NGH podcast. You're welcome to share your ideas for future podcasts by emailing us, nghpodcast@ngh.net.